There is a moment, small but powerful, that defines the quality of every human life, the instant between what happens to us and how we respond. In that gap, we either become masters of ourselves or slaves to impulse. Anger, fear, pride, jealousy, these are not just emotions. They are forces that cloud judgment and enslave the soul. The untrained mind reacts, the wise mind reflects. This, Maimonides would say, is the essence of wisdom, not to suppress emotion, but to discipline it with reason. The modern world thrives on reaction. Social media rewards outrage, politics exploits emotion, and marketing feeds on impulse. We are trained not to think, but to respond, instantly, loudly, instinctively. The result is noise without understanding, conflict without resolution, and exhaustion without peace. We live surrounded by stimulation, yet starved for calm. The ancient sages spoke of mastering the mind. Today, we barely control our attention. We are free by law, but captive by habit. Maimonides understood this inner struggle more deeply than most philosophers. As a physician, he treated the body. As a thinker, he diagnosed the soul. He believed that most suffering, both moral and emotional, arises from imbalance. Just as the body falls ill when it loses harmony, so does the spirit when reason ceases to rule emotion. For him, self-control was not repression, but health, the natural order of the soul, where reason governs desire and guides it toward good. In his 8 chapters, he compared moral balance to medical balance. Anger, fear, and desire are like bodily fluids, necessary in moderation, deadly in excess. But Maimonides was no stoic who denied the heart. He did not preach cold detachment. He believed that emotions have purpose. They are divine instruments that must be tuned, not silenced. Anger, for example, can defend justice when guided by reason. Fear can protect us from harm when balanced by understanding. What destroys the soul is not feeling, but excess, when emotion breaks free from the rule of thought. The calm mind, therefore, is not empty of passion. It is the mind that directs passion wisely. He lived in turbulent times. Exile, persecution, and loss shaped his youth. Yet he cultivated serenity amid chaos, not by escaping the world, but by mastering his response to it. He taught that the greatest freedom is internal, the freedom to choose how to act, regardless of circumstance. When external control is lost, inner control becomes salvation. That is the essence of what modern psychology calls emotional intelligence, and what Maimonides called virtue. Every person, he argued, carries within 2 opposing forces, the rational and the impulsive. The rational soul seeks truth, clarity, and alignment with divine wisdom. The impulsive soul seeks pleasure, recognition, and immediate satisfaction. These forces are not enemies but parts of a single nature. The task of moral life is to bring them into harmony, to let reason rule, not as a tyrant, but as a wise physician who heals the passions rather than destroys them. In this way, virtue becomes not a punishment of emotion, but its purification. In The Guide for the Perplexed, Maimonides describes how ignorance fuels reactive living. When the intellect sleeps, imagination rules. We begin to see threats where there are none, enemies in those who disagree, and divine punishment in every misfortune. The ignorant person, he wrote, fears what he should not fear and desires what he should not desire. Such a person becomes a slave to circumstance, tossed like a ship without a rudder. The calm mind, by contrast, is anchored in understanding. It knows that emotion is a wave. It rises, it falls, but it need not overturn the ship. The danger of a reactive life is not merely personal, but moral. When passion governs, justice dies. The angry judge condemns the innocent. The fearful leader oppresses the weak. The envious heart destroys friendship. Maimonides saw moral corruption as a failure of reason, a sickness of the soul caused by unexamined impulses. To react without thinking is to surrender the divine gift of intellect. For him, reason was not just a human faculty but a sacred responsibility, the image of God in man. To think before reacting is therefore an act of reverence. This teaching finds new urgency in our century. We live in a culture of instant gratification, where delay feels like denial and reflection like weakness. But every ancient tradition, from Aristotle to the Talmud, warns that haste is the enemy of wisdom. Maimonides brought these traditions together, offering a path of balance to feel deeply but act wisely. The calm mind is not indifferent, it is deliberate. It is not passive, it is patient. It listens before it speaks, observes before it judges, and chooses before it acts. The modern seeker might ask, how can I achieve such calm when the world demands constant reaction? Maimonides would answer, by training the intellect daily, as one trains the body. Study, contemplation, moderation, these are exercises of the soul. Just as physical health depends on discipline, so does spiritual health depend on reasoned restraint. Each time we pause before reacting, we strengthen the will. Each time we reflect before speaking, we heal the heart. Over time, the mind becomes calm, not by nature, but by habit. For Maimonides, thinking before reacting was not just a technique for peace. It was the path to holiness. The mind that governs emotion imitates the divine order, where chaos is subdued by wisdom. To act from understanding rather than impulse is to participate in the rational harmony of creation itself. The calm mind, then, is not merely human, it is godlike. In it, man fulfills his highest purpose, to mirror the Creator through reason, compassion, and balance. Maimonides approached the human psyche with the precision of a physician and the reverence of a theologian. To him, the soul was a living organism with its own anatomy, composed of intellect, emotion, and desire, and health depended on balance among them. His ethical philosophy, deeply influenced by Aristotle, yet guided by Torah, viewed emotional excess as disease and reason as the healing force. The purpose of life was not to extinguish emotion, but to order it, allowing the intellect to govern as the mind's rightful ruler. The calm mind, therefore, is not an accident of temperament. It is the deliberate work of reason applied to passion. In the 8 chapters, Maimonides describes moral character in medical terms. Every vice, he explains, is a deviation from the middle path. Courage lies between cowardice and recklessness, generosity between stinginess and wastefulness, humility between servility and arrogance. So too with the emotions. Serenity lies between apathy and rage, compassion between indulgence and hardness. These virtues are not abstract ideals, but practical states that must be cultivated through conscious discipline. A man should always direct his heart and actions toward balance, he writes, for in the middle path lies health. Just as a doctor prescribes medicine to restore the body, the wise man prescribes thought to restore the soul. Anger, for example, was to Maimonides one of the most destructive forces in human nature. He called it an exceedingly evil trait, warning that it blinds judgment and poisons the heart. Yet he did not advocate suppression, only mastery. Occasional anger expressed for moral purpose was acceptable. Habitual anger was spiritual illness. The calm mind does not deny injustice. It confronts it without losing clarity. To react in rage is to let the world dictate one's inner state. To respond with reason is to preserve one's freedom. Maimonides understood that true power lies not in domination of others, but in dominion over oneself. In Mishneh Torah, he expands this idea into a complete moral psychology. The commandments, he explains, are not arbitrary tests of obedience, but exercises in virtue, training for the soul. Each law disciplines a passion or refines a trait. Fasting teaches restraint, charity tempers greed, prayer cultivates focus. These practices are not about earning divine favor, but aligning the human will with divine wisdom. In this way, religion becomes therapy, a program for emotional and intellectual health. The The calm mind, far from being a luxury, is a spiritual obligation. Maimonides saw reason as the divine faculty that distinguishes man from beast. When reason rules, the soul reflects God's image. When emotion rules, the soul descends into confusion. The intellect, he wrote, is the form of man. To neglect it is to betray one's nature. For this reason, he placed intellectual training at the center of spiritual life. Study, reflection, and deliberate thought are not distractions from faith, but its foundation. The perfection of man, he insists, is attained only through knowledge. A person who reacts without thinking abandons that perfection. He exchanges wisdom for instinct. Yet Maimonides did not idealize reason as cold calculation. His rationalism was infused with ethics and humility. He recognized that intellect without virtue becomes arrogance, the very opposite of wisdom. Knowledge must be tempered by compassion, just as emotion must be guided by thought. The wise person, he said, is slow to anger, gentle in speech, and deliberate in action, not because he suppresses feeling, but because he understands it. He sees anger rise within him like a storm, yet chooses when and how to let it pass. This control does not make him less human, it makes him whole. He warned especially against the illusion of certainty born from emotion. The angry man believes he is right. The fearful man imagines he is safe. The proud man assumes he is wise. In truth, all three are blind. Emotion distorts perception, while reason restores it. Thus, to cultivate a calm mind is to purify the mirror of the intellect, allowing reality to be seen as it is. In this way, Maimonides' ethics anticipate modern cognitive psychology, the idea that distorted thoughts create distorted emotions, and clarity of mind restores peace. The calm mind, then, is not mere tranquility, it is alignment with truth. In Maimonides' metaphysics, the universe is rational. Every event follows divine wisdom. To live in constant reaction is to rebel against that order, to demand that reality conform to one's desires. The wise person, by contrast, conforms his soul to reality. He accepts what cannot be changed, acts wisely where he can, and remains steady amid both fortune and loss. This is not fatalism, but freedom, freedom from the tyranny of impulse. Maimonides' emphasis on balance extends beyond emotion to every aspect of life. He believed that health of body supports health of mind, and both serve the pursuit of knowledge. As a physician, he prescribed moderation in diet, rest, and exercise, not for pleasure but for clarity. A sick body clouds thought, a gluttonous mind cannot pray. Since the body is the instrument of the soul, he wrote, one cannot understand the Creator while sick. The calm mind, therefore, depends on the calm body. Spiritual wisdom begins with physical discipline. He also taught that one's environment influences inner peace. Just as the mind must be shielded from destructive thoughts, it must also avoid toxic company. The wise person chooses companions who encourage virtue, not reaction. If one dwells among fools, he warns, he will learn foolishness. Surrounding oneself with the angry or the fearful breeds the same emotions. To cultivate serenity, one must dwell among the calm. The mind, like a flame, takes the shape of the vessel that holds it. Perhaps the most profound element of Maimonides' teaching is that self-mastery is not self-centered. The calm mind serves not only personal peace, but moral responsibility. Anger, he notes, leads to injustice, jealousy to cruelty, pride to oppression. The ruler who governs his temper governs his people well. The parent who disciplines emotion teaches by example. The scholar who restrains arrogance preserves truth. Every act of self-control, in this sense, sustains the moral order of the world. The calm mind is not a retreat from life, it is the source of right action within it. At the heart of all this lies a simple, revolutionary claim that emotion is not destiny. The modern world often excuses impulsive behavior as just human nature. Maimonides disagreed. Human nature, he said, is not fixed, it is perfectible. The intellect was given precisely to elevate instinct into virtue. To react wisely is to fulfill one's divine purpose. The calm mind is not a gift we receive but a skill we cultivate, the art of transforming raw emotion into reasoned love, untamed energy into moral strength. Thus, when Maimonides speaks of calmness, he is not describing weakness or detachment. He is describing mastery, the triumph of the rational soul over chaos. To think before reacting is to imitate God, whose creation unfolds not in haste but in order. The calm mind is a reflection of that divine order within the human heart, and to cultivate it, Maimonides would say, is to live as man was meant to live, with clarity, justice, and peace. For Maimonides, the calm mind is not simply a moral virtue or a practical discipline, it is a form of spiritual perfection. To control one's reactions is to align the inner world with divine order. The universe, he taught, is governed by wisdom, proportion, and law. Nothing in creation is chaotic. Only human passion creates disorder. When the intellect rules the emotions, man reflects the harmony of creation itself. The calm mind, therefore, is not merely peace of heart. It is participation in the rational design of God. In the Guide for the Perplexed, Maimonides writes that the purpose of knowledge is not to accumulate facts, but to draw closer to the Creator through understanding. He saw thought as a form of worship, the mind contemplating the divine wisdom embedded in reality. Anger, fear, and impulsive reaction disrupt this connection because they enslave the intellect to the body. The more a person is ruled by passion, the further he drifts from his divine likeness. To think before reacting, then, is not just emotional intelligence, it is a spiritual act. It is the restoration of the soul's order, the purification of the mirror that reflects the light of God. Maimonides believed that God's perfection is mirrored in the natural order. Everything functions with precision and balance. To imitate God is to act with the same balance in one's moral and emotional life. This is what he called imitatio Dei, imitating the divine attributes through wisdom, mercy, and restraint. When a person responds to provocation with measured reason, he imitates divine patience. When he tempers anger with understanding, he imitates divine mercy. Thus, calmness is not passivity, it is creative alignment with the rational harmony of the universe. Each act of restraint becomes an echo of divine order. This idea elevates ethics to theology. The calm mind is not simply good character, it is the dwelling place of God's image within man. In the moment we think before reacting, we restore that image. When we fail to think, when we allow emotion to dominate, we shatter it. For Maimonides, the struggle between reason and passion is not psychological alone, it is cosmic. It mirrors the tension between order and chaos in creation itself. The individual who conquers anger, therefore, does not merely calm himself, he participates in the ongoing act of divine creation, bringing light where there was disorder. Maimonides' concept of divine love also springs from this integration. To love God, he wrote, is to know him. The more one understands the divine wisdom in nature, the more one is filled with love, awe, and humility. But this love is incompatible with the turmoil of uncontrolled emotion. Anger blinds the intellect, fear narrows it, lust scatters it. Only the calm mind is capable of true contemplation. In this way, serenity is not emotional suppression but spiritual clarity, the stillness in which divine truth becomes visible. Just as the surface of a pond reflects the sky only when undisturbed, the soul reflects God only when calm. In the religious life, this harmony transforms prayer and devotion. Maimonides taught that prayer without thought is meaningless. Words uttered in agitation or anger have no spiritual value. True prayer arises from an ordered mind, one that has conquered distraction and centered itself on understanding. Serve God with your mind, he urged, for that is the essence of worship. The calm mind, therefore, is the foundation of all genuine spirituality. It allows the believer to approach the divine not through emotion alone, but through comprehension and awe. Yet Maimonides also knew that emotion cannot be eradicated. The task is not to escape it, but to refine it. Passion, properly guided, becomes energy for good. Compassion is emotion guided by reason. Courage is fear, disciplined by wisdom. Even love of God, the highest virtue, begins as emotion, but matures through understanding. In this sense, emotion is the raw material of spirituality, and reason is the craftsman. The calm mind is the workshop where the human and divine meet. He often emphasized that true holiness is found not in withdrawal from life, but in moderation within it. The mystic who flees the world in pursuit of peace misses the purpose of creation. God, Maimonides said, is not served by those who abandon the world, but by those who sanctify it through reasoned living. The calm mind is the bridge. It allows one to engage fully with life while remaining inwardly tranquil. In this balance, the ordinary becomes sacred, a conversation, a decision, a pause before speaking. Each act of conscious restraint becomes a small act of worship. This synthesis also transforms suffering. Maimonides taught that external events cannot truly harm the wise person because his peace depends on internal order, not on circumstance. Pain may touch the body, loss may wound the heart, but the mind, governed by reason, remains centered. It does not deny pain, it interprets it through understanding. He who knows the causes of things, he wrote, does not rage against them. The calm mind is not immune to emotion, it simply sees beyond it. It accepts that all events unfold within divine wisdom, even when the human mind cannot yet perceive the pattern. In this way, serenity becomes faith in action, not belief without reason, but trust grounded in understanding. The calm mind recognizes that reality follows law, not chaos, and therefore rests in confidence even amid uncertainty. For Maimonides, this is the essence of faith, not blind submission, but enlightened trust. When reason reaches its limit, faith begins, not as a leap into darkness, but as an extension of light. The calm mind stands precisely at that threshold where intellect meets reverence. This state of harmony between knowledge and humility, action and stillness, is what Maimonides saw as the perfection of the human soul. He called it devakut, the cleaving to God through awareness. It is not achieved through miracles or mysticism, but through discipline, the daily effort to think rightly, act rightly, and feel rightly. Every moment of calm, every pause before reaction, becomes a small step toward that union. The spiritual life, therefore, is not a flight from the world, but mastery within it. Ultimately, Maimonides' vision of the calm mind unites reason, emotion, and faith into a single movement of the soul. The intellect provides clarity, emotion provides energy, and faith provides direction. When these three are harmonized, the person becomes whole, a microcosm of divine order. The calm mind is not static peace, but dynamic balance, not suppression, but integration. It is the still point at the center of the storm, the place where thought and spirit meet, and where the human being reflects the wisdom of the Creator. To apply Maimonides' teaching on the calm mind in the modern world is to reclaim the forgotten art of self-command. We live in an age of stimulation, where reaction is constant and silence feels unnatural. The smartphone, the news feed, the endless stream of noise all conspire to keep us from thinking before reacting. Maimonides would look at this restlessness and see not progress, but illness, the sickness of a distracted soul. He would urge us to begin where all healing begins, by restoring balance between mind and emotion. The first step toward calmness, in his view, is awareness. One cannot govern what one does not observe. When anger rises, when fear grips, when pride whispers, stop. Observe without judgment. Maimonides would call this the awakening of reason, the moment when the intellect remembers its power. The impulse does not disappear. It is simply seen for what it is, a passing shadow, not a command. This brief act of observation creates the space where freedom lives. Between stimulus and response, man regains dominion over himself. That space, he would say, is sacred. Next comes training. Maimonides compared moral growth to physical healing, gradual, deliberate, and guided by discipline. The person who wishes to master his reactions must practice small acts of restraint. Speak a little slower. Breathe before replying. Choose reflection over instinct in minor matters, and strength will grow for the greater trials. Each act of patience trains the soul as exercise trains the body. Over time, the habits of reaction are replaced by habits of understanding. The calm mind is not born, it is built. He would also insist on moderation in all things. Extremes of emotion, indulgence, or even piety lead to imbalance. The straight path, he wrote, is the path of the wise. To live moderately is not to live blandly. It is to live in tune with reality. The middle path is not mediocrity. It is mastery. Maimonides might remind us that even virtue in excess becomes vice. Zeal turns to fanaticism, discipline to rigidity, faith to dogma. Balance, therefore, is not compromise but harmony, the state in which all parts of the soul work together under reason's guidance. In daily life, this means cultivating rhythms that support reflection. Maimonides urged study not as mere scholarship, but as spiritual hygiene, the nourishment of the intellect. In our world, this could mean reading before reacting, thinking before speaking, or creating quiet spaces free from digital intrusion. The calm mind requires solitude, as the body requires rest. Without silence, there is no understanding. Without reflection, there is no wisdom. He might say that just as one cleanses the body, one must also cleanse the mind, from noise, confusion, and falsehood. Maimonides' emphasis on health reminds us that the physical and the mental are intertwined. The exhausted, overstimulated body cannot sustain a tranquil mind. He prescribed moderate sleep, balanced diet, and daily movement, not as vanity, but as virtue. The soul cannot comprehend truth while sick, he wrote. Today, this wisdom translates into the simple but profound recognition that caring for the body is an act of respect for the mind. The path to serenity runs through the stomach, the lungs, and the nerves as much as through the intellect. He would also caution against the contagion of anger. Just as disease spreads through contact, so does emotion through imitation. Surround yourself with the calm, he advised, and you will become calm. The company of the angry, the envious, and the restless infects the spirit. Choose companions who embody reason, humility, and peace, not because they are perfect, but because they strive for the same order of soul. The environment shapes the mind, and the mind shapes destiny. On a deeper level, Maimonides would invite the modern person to rediscover faith as reasoned trust, not blind belief, but confidence in the rational order of creation. The anxious mind, he observed, lives as though the universe were chaos. The calm mind lives as though it were law. To believe that existence has purpose is to free oneself from panic. When events unfold beyond understanding, the wise do not rage against them. They seek meaning within them. This is faith in its purest form, not denial of reason, but acceptance of reality with grace. Practically, this outlook transforms how we deal with conflict, loss, and change. The reactive person meets difficulty with complaint. The wise person meets it with inquiry. What can this teach me? Becomes his first question. For Maimonides, every experience, pleasant or painful, is a lesson in balance. Suffering reveals attachment. Anger exposes pride. Fear unveils ignorance. The calm mind does not run from discomfort, it studies it. Through understanding, emotion becomes teacher rather than tyrant. He would also remind us that speech is the most visible measure of the mind. The wise speak sparingly, choosing words that heal rather than wound. A man's tongue, he wrote, is the quill of his heart. To speak impulsively is to reveal disorder. To speak calmly is to manifest mastery. In the digital age, this teaching acquires new weight. Each post, each message, each reaction online is a test of character. Maimonides would ask, are you using words to illuminate or to inflame? Silence, when guided by reason, is often the higher form of truth. Ethically, the calm mind becomes a force for peace. Anger multiplies anger. Calm disarms it. A person who can think before reacting interrupts the chain of hostility that fuels human conflict. For Maimonides, this is the truest imitation of the divine. To respond to error with patience, to meet offense with understanding. Such restraint is not weakness, but strength of the highest kind. The one who governs himself, he said, is greater than the one who conquers a city. Finally, Maimonides would teach that serenity is not the absence of struggle, but the presence of purpose. Every moment of tension is an invitation to practice the art of the calm mind. Each temptation to react is an opportunity to exercise freedom. The calm person does not avoid challenge. He uses it as material for growth. In this, Maimonides' teaching becomes both spiritual and practical, a philosophy for the age of anxiety. It does not promise escape from the world, but mastery within it. To live this way is to transform ordinary life into a discipline of wisdom. When reason governs emotion, every action becomes intentional, every word deliberate, every response meaningful. The calm mind is not indifferent, it is awake. It sees clearly, acts justly, and remains inwardly unshaken. In such a person, the world finds its rarest treasure, a human being who reflects divine order amid human chaos. Maimonides would end such a reflection with humility. The work of mastering the self, he would remind us, never ends. Even the wise must renew their calm each day, but he would also say that each small victory, each moment of thought before reaction, is a fragment of perfection. Piece by piece, these moments form a life of harmony. The calm mind becomes not an achievement, but a way of being, the art of living in tune with reason and therefore in tune with God.